Professor Mthunzi Mdwaba is the founder, president, and CEO of Tzoro IBC, which is an investment and strategic business consultancy, and the chairman of Productivity South Africa. He is the co-founder of SANA, which is South African Norwegian Association, and is also its chairperson. He was also previously the vice president of BUSA, which is Business Unity South Africa, and the IOE Vice President and the Vice Chairman to the International Labour Organization, the ILO. Mthunzi has a BA and an LLB from the University of Witwatersrand, which we call WITS. Thank you so much for making the time finally.
Real pleasure.
So we met as adults. Can you tell me a bit about your upbringing? Where were you born? Do you have siblings?
Yes. So I was born in the rural villages of the Eastern Cape, a place called Heschel. Still hard to find in the map, and the map even after the many, many elections we've had, which has improved other people's chances of being found. But it is, when I tell people, the closest towns are Lady Grey, which people know when they go skiing in some place, I can't even remember the name.
Tiffendale.
Tiffendale, yeah. And when we do major shopping, we go to Aliwal North or Aliwal North.
Oh, really?
60 kilometers from my home, but we from the rural, and have 5 siblings. My parents were quite busy, I suppose. We had 6. I'm the eldest of the 6.
Yeah.
And grew up in an interesting family, actually, very, very interesting family. I suppose all families are interesting, but I just think mine has got its drama. When I was, I think, about 10 years old, and this I can mention later if we have time, because it came up in therapy. Oh. Yes, came up in therapy many years later, post-divorce.
Yes.
That my mother sent me to stay with my grandparents, her parents, my maternal grandparents. And in doing so, ended up, of course, I was told that the reason I was sent, myself and my late cousin, was because all my grandparents' kids, my mother's siblings, had moved on and whatever. So we were there to be sent around to do the odd stuff by the grandparents, right? Which I'm told is quite customary with all, especially black families, I'm told. Yeah. But in my particular case, it was a lovely time now when I reflect, because my grandfather was a businessman. He had been a priest. I'm told that he stopped being a priest because he was asthmatic, and he used to, I'm told priests used to be moved a lot those days. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. So it was very bad for his health. But it certainly inspired him, because he became a very successful businessman in his own right. Yeah. At the time, started having some cafes, and then he had some shops, and then he had some buses. That's
where you got your entrepreneurial spirit from.
Looking back, I think I got it from there. He'd also named me, by the way. My second name was given by my grandfather. Not many people know my second name.
And you will share it now?
Now I'm going to share it. It's come out once or twice on international platforms.
Yes.
It's Perry Mason.
Yeah.
Perry Mason.
I saw that and I thought, okay, interesting. Did he love Perry Mason?
He loved the books.
Yeah.
He read all the books on Perry Mason. So even now when I saw the Netflix stuff and the TV stuff, which I find very boring, I must tell you, I don't watch the Perry Mason stuff, but I was named after him, so he would believe that I was always meant to be in law and so on. So that was my upbringing.
Interesting. So, but how did growing up in South Africa shape your perspective of life?
Well, I guess, when you look back today, I have lived almost exactly 2 halves of South Africa, the pre-94 and the post-94 in terms of my age. And it's very interesting to even compare the two. But I suppose when you grow up in a rural village like I did, and your town is Aliwal North or Aliwal North, we grew up, I don't know what things were happening in other parts of the country, but at the time, you certainly knew that when you go to town to do shopping, you couldn't use the white people's door. There was a black door and a white door in all the shops in Alwa North. Yes, yes. Okay. And you couldn't, and I'm sort of, and again, this is the interesting thing about sort of racism and color. I am probably the darkest in my family. All my other siblings could pass for the white door, as colored or something like that, but I couldn't pass as in terms of the white door. So that shapes your life, I think, forever, because even when I did law, I ended up being drawn to Brown versus Department of Education in the US, for separate but equal, because I remembered, the environment, and I remembered the way we were treated. And I went, of course, to a proper, as I always tell people, Bantu education, high school, education really, till I got to Wits. Okay. And I mentioned that as well because a lot of people I've met, particularly my white South African friends, and they always say, which school did you go to? I said, I went to Mehlo Makhulu. Well, Mehlo what? Yeah. Mehlo Makhulu. Yeah, but there's no private school like that. Yes, of course, there's no private school like that.
Because your accent.
Yes, because I don't know, somehow along the way, probably the accent just formed because of my many experiences. But yeah, so you grow up going through schools like that, and it shaped my life, I think, because I was doing mathematics, and it was a big thing in my family to continue doing mathematics. My great uncle, you may or may not know, has a building named after him at Wits, T.W. Kambule Mathematical Sciences Building. So, and that's my maternal side of the family. So when I said I'm going to drop maths, because my worry was that in our confined, very narrow education, you could only do maths and chemistry and physical science, but we didn't have a lab. And I hated the idea of studying things as a
theory without the practical.
I couldn't stand the maths. I would get an A for maths, but I would get a D or an E for this physical science together with chemistry. Yeah. And I thought, if I'm going to make it into university, into Wits, because I'd already decided, I need to drop this physical science. Yeah. So right in March of my matric, I dropped it to do biology and agriculture. Yeah. And my grandfather said over his dead body, would it happen? And my aunt, who's a very good friend of mine, said, it can be arranged. So I changed.
Yeah, it can be arranged indeed.
We can arrange his untimely passing, if that's what
Now that you've just mentioned that you studied at Wits, so you did law at Wits, and then you also chaired the Bromfontein Center Residence House Committee. You also worked as a part-time assistant librarian, and you also qualified as an Avis rental sales agent. What was motivating all this?
Yeah, I think it was freedom. I think freedom and liberation was motivating it, if I think about it long and hard. At Wits, first of all, I did law, and everybody remembers that part. But actually, I majored in social sciences. It was really much later, when I was now the vice chair of the International Labour Organization in Switzerland. It came to me. Oh. Yes, only then it came to me, because it was important in a debate in the United Nations, and I thought, I need to tell these people something they don't know. I'd done sociology, majored in industrial sociology. Did politics, majored in African politics. And of course, at the time, because I knew I was going to do law, I think that we had to do English, Afrikaans, Latin, and whatever, did all of that, and then did law. The jobs themselves, the law library, the being trained as a rental sales agent for Avis, I used to sell leather jackets. Somebody imported leather jackets, and I used to sell them, to a few of the late Jackie Selebis, the current minister with whom I have a lot of beef, Messi, used to buy my leather jackets from me at Lutuli House. I used to go there in a rubbish plastic bag, and they would buy all the stuff. Also, he sold to some thugs. So there's very interesting people I used to sell to. A guy called Fingers Rabutapi, who had all his fingers shot at some stage before he was taken out. So I used to count cars. I used to go and do checkers and stock counting. And all of this was driven by, I think, the freedom to be independent from my family and from everybody, because I came from quite an interesting family, especially, on the ladies' side. My mother, if my mother, for example, wanted something to happen, and I said, no, I'm going to think about it, she would stop sending me money for allowance.
Oh, manipulation.
Yes. So then I figured, okay, if this is how things work, I think I need to deal with this money situation. Because if I deal with the money situation, I'm going to be free. So I think it was driven by all of that.
Freedom. Interesting. If you were not here tomorrow, what do you think we'll miss most about you?
I don't know. If I wasn't here. And you want one thing?
The essence of what you think you bring into the world.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What do I bring? So what would be missed? Sure, I can think of so many. That's why I'm stuck now here. I think I bring a questioning attitude that has a follow-up with action. Some people question but keep it to themselves. And some people question but they hide. I question and I come out. And I ask direct questions and I make direct statements. And I think that's what will be missed. Some people...
It's that courageousness. Because sometimes I think in business there have been times when you've been vocal, which does hit your pocket. And many people will not do that.
Not only does it hit my pocket, I must tell you, in my growth as I develop as a human being, it's hit me everywhere. It's hit my heart, it's hurt a lot. It's disappointed me a lot in terms of the people that surround me and that I work with. It's felt like betrayal in most cases, where people would agree with you on something and then when you do it, they go hide. And it's hit my pocket, yes, many times. Is it courage? For the last maybe 15, maybe 20 years, my email signature has been that courage is not the absence of fear, right? But the knowledge. But it's also the other side of it is bravery is not the absence of fear, but the presence of courage in the face of that fear. It doesn't mean there's no fear, but that fear is not sustainable, because fear is a mind thing. Fear is not real. Fear is imagined. And once you allow it and you allow your mind and you allow fear to take over, you end up not doing anything. But I've learned over time that other people would rather just choose the other route, and with different people. So I guess I've learned also to respect that. There was a time I used to wonder and think, how do you actually sleep at night? You know what just happened. We both saw it. We both experienced it. But you chose to do nothing about it. But, and as you mature, you realize that actually we're just different. We're different people.
You know what was distinctive? Why, besides the fact that I don't know where we met and I said you're going to speak at my conference and you did pitch up. That was, I don't think I gave you a choice. But the one thing I will never ever forget is, remember, one of the big 4 consulting firms had approached me, and I was going to be one of their enterprise development ages ago. But they were struggling with a particular telecoms company. And so I had spoken to you and said, this is an opportunity for me. But I also need help in also helping them, because their structure was such that they were not being seen as transformed, because the management structure and the ownership structure wasn't changing. And then you were on board. You said, to support Dudu, I will do anything. And as we were in the process, then they started wanting to deal directly with you and leave me out. And what I remember is you said, no, I will not do that. And you said your ethics make you very uncomfortable about the way they approached it. And the thing that with you just interfacing would have been financially lucrative for you. I think I took a backseat and I thought, oh my God, that character. I think for me, that's what stood out. And I was like, if we had more business people like this in our country who are able to say transformation is so important that I'm not going to put my financial well-being at the forefront. I think that's the kind of courage I talk about.
Thank you, Dudu. Do you know that I cannot recall? But as you remind me, I can.
No.
It resonates.
Yeah.
I even get goosebumps. My daughter, who's a drama therapist, is a psychologist in the UK, always says to me, "Daddy, when you get the goosebumps, it's because the ancestors agree they're there." You know. So I think my ancestors are agreeing, and I feel it because in most instances, what has happened to is I've had a lot of people remind me of experiences. You're actually one of a few people that I've met recently who remind me of what happened back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I remember what happened, right? And I'm happy to hear it from you, to tell you the truth, because then it tells me that even though I may not recall some of the things I did or did not do, I have been fairly consistent in my outlook and my belief system. And it's been a very difficult outlook and belief system because, you know, given my nature and the way I do things and what you refer to courage, I've had a fair number of attacks.
Yes, you have.
On my person, right? And in spite of all of them, though, I know one thing, that I would not change. Yes, maybe sometimes you can change a little bit of the way you approached it, maybe, the way you went about it, but I would do it again and again because I really believe that's what I would like to leave behind for everybody that I meet on my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, just something that...
Thank you for that.
So you are the CEO and President of Tzoro IBC.
Yes.
What does it do?
So I'm CEO of Tzoro IBC and Tzoro Strategic Advisory. And first of all, Tzoro is my nickname, given to me by my aunt's husband, based on the T's in the Mthunzi, but the Zoro is in Zoro, the swords person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he decided I was Tzoro because of the way I do things in terms of street savviness and maybe, you know, pioneering and having, I think there's a very big English word they like to use. I can't remember it now offhand. I forget it if
Maverick?
I can't. Maverick. My God, you see, you know the English language well.
I know you.
Yes, you see, they told me that this maverick word. They said maverick. I said, what? I said, yeah, and I looked it up. I thought, oh, okay. And so I was named that. But what Tzoro really does, that when I sold all my businesses, around about the 2012, 2013, I was busy selling things off, and I was now starting to spend a lot of time in Switzerland. I then thought, I do need, though, to start something, because there was a time between 2010 and 2013 where I thought maybe I should find a job. And I tried. After I sold one of my businesses, Talk IT, I was supposed to take time out maybe for a year and a half. But a year and a half later, I thought, I haven't really found something I want to do. And I discovered to my horror that I was unemployable. Oh. Yes, because everywhere I went, I was either too qualified or why would I want a job like that if as a CEO, because it looks like I've already done something like that before. And then I picked up as well that some people were not comfortable with having somebody like me because of my forthrightness and speaking my mind and you know, and I'll call you out if I feel that something is not on. Then I started a consulting firm which would leverage on my global network. I'd already started amassing quite a serious global network at the time in 2012, 2013, which present time has grown to 187 countries, and we can cover that some other time. So what it does is it leverages that network, it leverages my relationships, I'm able to offer strategic advisory particularly, which is something I really, really enjoy. And I'm able to be some kind of a bouncing board for some people. Yeah.
Gives you that freedom again.
Yes.
Back to that theme.
Yes.
So in February 2020, you co-founded SANA, which is the South African Norwegian Association, and you're also its chairperson. Why Norway?
I actually don't know why Norway. You know, some of the along the journey that I've taken, some of the places I think have chosen me because they were supposed to be there, I suppose, as I progress. Switzerland has been a very big part, and Norway actually comes via Switzerland, interestingly, because you would be aware that I got to a point where, by virtue of the organized business involvement that I had, I ended up representing South Africa initially, then SADC, then Africa, on the governing body of the International Labour Organization, which
ILO, yeah.
the ILO, which is the largest specialized agency of the United Nations family, and the only tripartite one. And, I then became the first vice president of the International Organization of Employers, which is the largest private sector business organization in the world, maybe about 150 business organizations, BUSA here in South Africa being one of those 150. And by virtue of being the vice president of the IOE and the global spokesperson for all employers, I then became the vice chair of the International Labour Organization, again, the first African since both organizations were born in 1919 and 1920, respectively. And this was in 2017, right? But along my path, I met a lot of interesting people, as you can imagine, and I'll cover that later should it come up. But Norway, I met some interesting people from Norway in my committees that I served in, but I was busy minding my business and tweeting about things I was doing and posting on LinkedIn. And there was this guy who just kept on, he was like always on my horizon. I had learned to see who's following me on social media. By the way, I've learned to know who's checked my stuff on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I even saw you when you came in and you viewed. I see everyone.
I do my research.
No. I see everyone because when I chaired the University of the Western Cape during FISMA's fall, I learned that you needed to be up to date with who the person who's connected to you was talking to the day before you get attacked, right? But in my case, this guy was like always there. And then eventually one day he phoned and he says, may we talk? I said, yeah. He says, could he interest me in starting an organization in Norway called the South African Norwegian Association? So I said, so why me? He says, no, you don't know me, but when you made a keynote speech, not a keynote speech, I made a speech at the University of Durban something now, I can't remember what it's called.
Which is UKZN now?
Yeah, that one,
Yeah.
UKZN. I had gone there to collect my great uncle's posthumous doctorate, T.W. Kambule, because I'm the official person who does it in the family. He says then I was asked to speak, which I had not expected, but they just decided that I must speak. So he says he knew me from there because his wife, who is now a professor in Norway, and she's Norwegian, was studying there. So he said, can we start this thing? I said, why? He says, no, because we must create some business between Norway and South Africa. There's a historical relationship between Norway and South Africa, New South Africa, and like Sweden, although Sweden was a little bit more involved. And he thinks there's a lot that can be done to bring the two together. So SANA, as a result, has a board that is made up of Norwegians. We've got the Vice Chancellor of, I must get this right now, of EGDA University on my board. And there's the Dean from the University of Oslo as well, and a few other guys and people here in South Africa. And we are doing amazingly in connecting. But another big reason why I think the universe wanted me to be with Norway is because you may or may not know that Norway has the largest and most successful sovereign fund in the world, called Norfund. Okay. Yes, and as of 2 weeks ago, I've got the chief legal advisor for Norfund on my board too. Wow. Yes, and in terms of the things I want to do going forward, these are all very useful relationships and very useful possible collaborations as well.
Yeah, and I know you will do it for the benefit of more than you. That's what I always enjoy.
I always try to do that.
Yes.
In fact, I can't think of anything else other than that, to
Yeah.
tell you the truth. And that's why I'm always so surprised when I get attacked for something I'm thinking, that's not for me actually. It's for other people who can do it for themselves. But
No, that's because other people do it for themselves. They actually don't understand that there are people, you can use yourself as a vehicle, but
Yeah.
open it for other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've been consistent in that.
Thank you.
You have said that your purpose in life is to be part of effecting global change, global social justice, and global impact. What does this mean, and when did you come to this realization?
Okay, now that's big, that's big. It took me a long time of trying to figure out what am I doing? Why? I mean, I've always been very fortunate. I think I've always worked hard, of course, and smartly, I hope. And I've always gone into everything and gotten to the top of it very quickly, whatever it is, right? But I always had this natural propensity for getting into the toughest of situations and fighting with people, to a point where at some stage I thought, by a common denominator, I must be the problem. Something's not right. So I started looking into this to a point where I even did regression. I went into regression to understand, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then it came up in multiple conversations that actually, and I was taken into this regressive thing that psychologists do, and I saw myself actually choose it.
Wow.
Yes, I saw.
The pre-birth.
Yes, pre-birth.
Yeah.
They asked me. She said, don't argue. Don't try and rationalize it. Just tell me what you see. It took her a long time, by the way, because she says, I'm a bit hard-headed. I was trying to block it.
Yeah.
And she said, tell me what you see. So I wrote somewhere, purpose, impact, and justice. And then, but it still didn't come to me till much later in a very structured form. And that was on the 26th of June at 4 a.m. 2018. I'm sitting in a hotel in Cape Town, Hotel Verde. I'm writing my document for my last 4 years as the chair of the University of the Western Cape. There were a lot of things that happened at the University of the Western Cape. Lots of things. Huge transformation, huge fights. I was making headlines in the newspapers there almost every week as the worst person on earth. Okay? Because I was trying to get rid of some very bad apples, very bad people on the council. And as I'm sitting there writing the report, or in the report, the custom and protocol of universities is that it gets written for you. Oh. Yes, the registrar said, but we do this, chair. You just tell us what to put in. I said, I want to do it myself. I really feel strongly that I need to give it my own personal touch. So I was writing this, and as I was writing it, I got this moment. You know when you get a eureka moment, something like landed in my room, and I was overwhelmed that everything I was doing because my purpose and my whole thing about life is change and impact and global justice. And of course I had the platform, and I still have it, where I went and I ended up in the ILO being one of the bosses for an entity.
So you're living your purpose. Wow.
Absolutely living it. I'm very blessed. Very, very, and very grateful.
For sure. Because some of us are thinking we're doing something, but is it really the thing?
No, I'm blessed.
That's
I'm
good.
blessed.
I'm very happy for that. Now you've mentioned the University of Western Cape. Are you still in Adjunct?
No, actually that's ended now.
Okay.
So now I'm available.
Yeah.
Any other university is, I wanted UWC to be the one, University of the Left.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I've done and served the University of the Western Cape.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to move on.
But you used to also kind of do some teaching, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so-
Through this and lectures.
Yeah.
And,
Future of work issues
Yes.
around human rights and responsible business
Yes.
conduct.
Yes.
So what's the relationship between responsible business conduct and sustainability?
Well, it's being responsible and being aware that everything we do is connected. Everything we do, from the economy to the environment to, we can't as business people, when we do things, not think about the communities we come from, ensuring that those communities are able to eke out a living in a sustainable manner. We can't do things without thinking about the consequences of our actions, how they'll leave a bad smell or they'll leave a bad element in the societies we're in. And as business people, I think it is an absolute responsibility that we ensure that we always think about more than ourselves, the climate, the environment, as I've said, the economy, the people, the community. That's the connectivity of it.
Yeah. What's your definition of failure, and how do you view failure?
Okay, definition of failure is when you refuse to acknowledge and take in and accept life's lessons. So there's no such a thing as failure if you know that it was a lesson and you must just move on and do things better. It is failure, though, when you consistently and constantly refuse to learn from it or to know that that was a message that you need to pick things up and do them differently. That is failure for me.
I like that. What do you most respect about the person you are?
What do I most respect about the person I am? That I am an amazing dad, an amazing cook, a cook, hectically.
Some of us need delivery. Yes.
And I love my gardening. And I'm a very spiritual human being, extremely. And I'm always watching and I'm always listening to the universe. And I know the universe speaks to us if we're listening. And I receive messages all the time. And I act on those messages all the time. And it's helped me with so much. With my children, get along with my children amazingly, love them to bits, including my adopted child. I've got an adopted son as well that I got from my marriage. I actually inherited him. He was my ex-wife's sister's son. So as a result, I've got more than the children that were born by my partners. Yeah.
So this should be interesting. What was the most transformative experience in your life that has led you on the path that you're on now? Describe to us the life vision that you are pursuing.
Okay, the two are a bit different, but let me see. So the most transformative one was actually in a relationship post my marriage, post divorce, and I think that when you're married for as long as I was married for 24 years. Was with the same partner for 29 years, right? And I think there's a temptation to want to have another stable relationship, which in my case was a mistake, okay? So I was too eager to settle down again because I never saw me getting divorced, to tell you the truth. And I think I attached some importance to remaining married because in my family, everybody has been my mother, my grandparents, and all of that. So I get in this relationship. Amazing human being, amazing professional. But I had some traumas that I think she had not dealt with herself. And I was to hear from friends what these traumas were. And I started probing. But it didn't change the fact that she still continued in working in line with her trauma. One of them was a very obsessive, possessive human being. And I had not seen it possible, although I knew she was possessive and she was obsessive, but I never thought it was possible that somebody could actually go onto my Apple phone and place herself on my cloud. Placed herself on my cloud. So actually, everywhere in the world that I went. So, when I was in the ILO and the IOE, I was doing about 30 countries a year. Pre-COVID, right? So everywhere I meet people, right? I get to know people. They talk to me. They put an emoji maybe like with a face or with a heart, right? My God. She sees this face and she sees this heart. What am I doing? I'm flirting. I'm in an emotional, I don't know, I can't remember, she used to call it an emotional relationship with people and whatever. And I would address that.
It's an emotional affair.
And increasingly I was starting to think, why am I doing what I'm doing? How did I get here? Because I think there are similarities with my life with somewhere else where I've been. And eventually, when I discovered that, my messages are being read and I'm now having to be interrogated on every message I receive and what I'm doing, I thought, okay, God, I get the message now. And then I went...
Don't repeat the pattern.
And then I went for therapy.
Yeah.
No, I went for therapy. It changed my life because I then went for therapy. I went to my naturopath and I said to my naturopath, there is something I'm doing wrong. I went to therapy when I was getting divorced, but they told me there was nothing wrong with me. That was the wrong answer. They were not looking for the right stuff.
Yeah.
I need to know why I naturally go towards certain partners. Yes, because I'm part of this. I can't just sit and say, no, they just come to me. No. I choose them too, right? And then I went for therapy. And I was referred to an engineer who actually loves psychology and he does this stuff. And I ended up finding out so much more about me and about things. And that thing I was talking about, my 10-year-old, I was taken to my grandfather. I found that, I've got some issues with my mother for taking me to stay with my grandparents without asking me. So I've got an issue with women, and I need to figure out what it is. And so all the women in my life, if I don't deal with stuff, I'm always going to have problems. So it changed me because I started opening up a little bit more, started interrogating, introspecting about things I would do. If I see somebody, I think, am I doing it again? And what the guy said is actually says, the problem is you're a nurturer. And you want to fix, and you want to always build and do better for people. But it's okay to do that in your professional life, not in your domestic relationship. Don't look for that in your relationship. Yeah. Look for other things. Look for equality. Look for whatever. Yeah. So, yeah.
The healing is very deep, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I love the fact that the engineer is a psychologist. I love to interact with that human being. What do you know for sure about living that you think you have figured out that can lead to a joyous and fulfilling life?
Well, I'm going to answer this one together with something I omitted to answer to, because you asked it, but it had two different variants in my view.
About your life vision.
About my life vision,
yeah.
Right? Once I got to know what my purpose in life is, and I realized that I've got the platform for it, that I can leverage the platform. But it comes, of course, with a lot of responsibility. Because, as the leader of all employers in the world, there's so much you can do that's bad, too. So you need to be conscious. So I needed to start learning that power without love and wisdom is a problem. It's really the problem we have in many countries in the world, including our own. Okay, where power doesn't have wisdom and love in it. And once the three are not together, something's going to go wrong. So I ended up spending a lot of time in now saying, okay, as I do this, and as I impact people's lives, and as I work on social justice, and making sure that we move to beyond rhetoric, we move to reality, because a lot of people speak from both sides of the mouth. That's the other thing I learned from being in the United Nations, is how hypocritical the people that are in that system are. How they say one thing but do another. They forget, they'll give you one example now and go another direction. They give another example, you say, but yesterday you said something different. Oh no, they're not connected. No, but they're the same, right? So as a result, for me, what I know about living is that people need to know that, you can either choose to live in the dark or you can choose to live in the light. It's your choice. Everything in life is a choice. Everything is a choice. But once you've made the choice, learn to understand that you made the choice. Don't blame anybody else. It's your choice. You could have gone anyway. It doesn't matter how bad it was. Even if the other side was falling over a cliff, it's your choice. You could have gone over the cliff, but you chose not to go over the cliff. So I've learned to understand that and to internalize it and to live it and to embrace it and to understand that there are certain things I see, there are certain things I feel that are difficult to explain. But out of the living and knowing as I go forward out of my spirituality and all the things that I believe in, I know that we're going to be okay. I know that you win ultimately when you live according to the way you should be, standing in the light.
That alignment.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. How do you handle stress and maintain your mental well-being?
Stress and mental. A lot of people I meet keep telling me, why am I looking so good? I have to say this.
You cycle a lot.
I used to, actually. Well, I cycle indoors now.
Oh, okay.
But I used to race. For 14 years, I did August, 14 Augusts, 1494.7, 14 Mashovas. I did the part of the Tour de France with guys and whatever. But I do a lot of gym. I've always done exercise. When I was younger, I did martial arts at Vets, and I walk, run, swim. I do a lot. So it's good for my mental well-being, I think. And when I deal with some of these very deep things that I have to deal with in my life. But also cooking. The cooking really distresses me like you don't understand. And it's one of the things I did not do when I was married. Yes. Yeah. And for the wrong reasons. And it was my fault. Nobody's fault. It was me. I just stopped because I thought my partner does it, so maybe I mustn't be there. It was wrong. I shouldn't have done that, right? And when I cook...
hope You are all listening.
Yeah, no, it was wrong. It makes me creative. It's a creative outlet for me. I'm not a recipe cook. I cook as I feel. Yeah. So
we were just talking about that because I have no idea. I just go, I don't know.
So my recipes change. So my kids keep saying, "Daddy, write it down." I said, "Yeah, I'll write it down." They said, "No, you got to you got to serve that in a restaurant." I said, "Oh yeah," but they know that the next time I won't remember. I have to do it differently, right? So I do a lot of that, of course. And I think because we're all adults, I can tell you that people don't realize how good sex is. Sex is very good for distressing.
Oh, really?
It comes for free.
Okay.
No, you don't pay gym fees. You don't have to walk and run up a hill. It comes naturally. It just sorts you out.
Yes.
So yeah.
My homeopath will like. I'm sure he'd like to hear that.
And of course, I've got a very good naturopath.
Okay.
Who looks after me. When I was starting to have a lot of problems with my back, especially in the ILO, because I used to have some hectic things there. Hectic things, big issues. And she kept on saying, "What are you doing wrong? What are you doing differently? What happens when you're in Geneva? Tell me." Then I would take her through. She said, "You're surrounded by so many hypocrites, and you know they're hypocrites. You know how they are. I need to give you something for your liver support and your kidney support." She would give me injections to inject myself on my elbows and whatever. She says, "Every week, inject yourself, take the stuff." She's an amazing naturopath, I tell you, but I love her to bits.
If you could change one thing about South Africa that would significantly improve the quality of its citizens' lives, what would that be?
One thing.
One thing.
There's so lot wrong.
Just one thing, please.
One thing.
Yeah.
Whew. You see, when you come on the day after the Springboks are the first country in the world, South Africa is the first country in the world to win the Rugby World Cup 4 times. And we're the only ones to have matched All Blacks back to back, 2011 to 2015. And you see what is possible when people are working as a team. You see what is possible when there is leadership, not authority. I would change dietyship. Yes, we are the problem, the people of South Africa. We suck backside too much. We want to lick backside too much. We raise these people that are in authority to a level they can't operate, because we know they're incompetent, the majority of them. They are hugely incompetent, right? But we raise them to a level where we have expectation. What expectation when you know the guy can do it, right? But as soon as you've raised him or her, the next thing you call them chief. Huh? Chief of what? They are no longer comrade. My leader, you must earn my leader. You can't lead me. Right? And when you tell them the truth, they say, "Sorry, you can't lead me. You're not qualified to lead me. Yes, you're in authority, but you're not leading." So for me, I would change deityship so that all of us understand that we need leaders, and we need leaders who are prepared to follow. Leaders follow.
A good follower is
all the time.
A good leader is a good follower.
And they're good listeners. They listen. They observe. They do. They listen, they observe, they do. And they know what they don't know. They always know what they don't know. It's the most important thing, right? But unfortunately, the problem we have, the unemployment that has reached the highest levels, probably, I think now we're number 1. The high levels of lack of productivity and therefore lack of competitiveness. On the Institute for Management Development Global Competitiveness Index, South Africa in the last 12 to 13 years has moved from 44 out of 62 countries to 61 out of 64 countries. And the only reason I think we're 61 is because Russia and Ukraine are at war. We would be 63 out of 64. Right? And so for me, all of that is happening purely because we have a lot of authoritative, status-oriented, egocentric, siloed kind of manipulation and spinning. And, that is a lot, I know, but it's the deityship. Because if we would go back as well and look at what is it that's causing all of it and change it and find a way to instill a comfort in the people that lead, in having people that know more than them, and in having people around them that make them look better than the leaders they could be, right? And having young people, freshness, okay, and understanding that you can't, as an economy, as South Africa, South Africa has so much potential. Not because people say it, because we know. Not only because of the Springboks, not because of the Cricket World Cup I'm hoping we're going to win. Sport, by the way, makes us look so good in spite of our spending less in sport than we should, right? We spend more in other things that just don't take us anywhere, right? But if we could do that, where everywhere I've gone all over and I've been blessed to have gone to so many places, Dudu, around the world, so many places. South Africans are held in such high regard, such high regard. People think we're the best thing after whatever. But not here at home. We have intense dislike for each other, intense disrespect for each other, intense distrust for each other, and we attack each other. We don't stop just at distrusting and disliking and disrespecting. We have to attack you to show you that I'm the boss and you are nothing, right? So for me, it's a lot. But there's a lot we need to change. But I think if I were to go back to the basic thing, is our deityship. We allow it to happen and to prosper.
So if I have to say, just give me one quick short-term win that you will suggest to the President of South Africa related to the business sector that could contribute to growing the economy and creating a comparative advantage with other emerging economies on the African continent, South America, and Asia. What is that one quick win?
Disruptive, innovative employment creation to grow the economy.
Which is?
Well, disruptive, ecosystem-related, innovative job creation. That's the one thing. So, but I can elaborate.
But I'm just saying, elaborate what the
So the disruptive thing is that I think it's been demonstrated that everything we've tried has failed to create jobs. Every time we say we're doing it, it gets bigger.
We have growth, but not always with jobs.
Yeah, and the growth is like so minimal that it's a joke, right? I mean, the last time we grew, I think, close to being able to create jobs and grow the economy was, I think, when President Thabo Mbeki was still around, at about 6%. But even then we knew, it was 5-6. Even then we knew, though, we need 7-8 to grow jobs and to grow the economy. Since then, we've been going back 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 minus. Right? So for me, the one is linked to the other, because when you start to create a competitive economy, you can't do it without having the right skills. Hence my saying you need a disruptive, innovative job creation that grows the economy. And when you become competitive, everybody loves you. The Norwegians you were asking about just now, the Swiss that I know very well, and they're like my family, they want to bring money here. They will bring money here. I can tell you, they're going to bring money and partner with me. It's going to happen, right? Because they believe. And a lot of people believe in who we are and our potential. But you need decisive leadership. So I'm in two minds. Even as you ask me, what would I say must be changed? So you need somebody very decisive to do it and to make sure that when that happens, knows that the global village that I was watching the president of France yesterday and feeling sorry for him, that he has to give these medals to these South Africans. But they, standing on that platform, recognizes the power of South Africa. People recognize the power of South Africa. And all we need to do is just tweak. And if you tweak that, it means, again, inbuilt in that one thing you do, that you're going to go and call the Dudus that are not necessarily in the private boys club to come and help, right? Because there's a lot of gifted, talented South Africans, lots. Some of them here, some of them leaving, some of them can't wait to come home, but they just want an environment that is welcoming and conducive.
Yeah. Hey, we can talk forever.
Yes.
Do you still have things on your bucket list that you want to still achieve?
Wow, yes, on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to go and watch Wimbledon, and watch the French Open, and watch the US Open.
I'm surprised you haven't done it as yet.
No, I haven't had time.
Oh, okay.
I haven't created the time. I was busy with other things. And I also want to go to Monaco, which my younger brother's dad, and watch the Formula One. I love sport. love sport, love watching sport. It's a big thing for me, you know. That's all I watch, sport. And then on my bucket list, I also want to do certain things like go and cook in certain parts of the world. You know, some Thai cooking, some Japanese cooking. And I've got a lot of things on my bucket list. And I know I have a lot of time to do them, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're not related to work or anything, you know, because I'm doing that every day. I'm living, as you said earlier, I'm living my purpose. I'm implementing my vision and my beliefs as I go along. And I'm grateful for people like you who can give me feedback that I can't even remember, you know, about things that when you tell me, I'm thinking, sure, that rings a bell, you know. And why it makes me so happy is because I always do things not expecting anything, right, in return. But the reality of life is that you need to have a return. Otherwise, you can't do more for the others. So on my bucket list is a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In closing,
Yes.
what wisdom would you like to leave us with? If this was the last conversation.
What would it be other than the things I've already said to you?
Yeah.
It would be one thing. Did you say one thing?
Two then.
Okay. One of them is respect. You know, if you want to push my buttons the wrong way, be disrespectful, as the guys in the multilateral environment have found out, the United Nations and the ILO. Don't be disrespectful, because then I lose it completely. But the thing for me that I am grateful for, and I think people need to work hard on, is how we manage our minds. Because, you know, I've always been above average fit in terms of my training. Every part of your training, whether it's your foot or your leg, you control. You decide, I'm going to pick up a weight. You decide, I'm going to do whatever. But somehow when it gets to the mind, we allow the mind to play games with us. And it's us who allow it, because it's our mind. So we need to always be alive to training and managing our minds. And telling our minds that they serve us. We don't serve them.
Don't believe everything you think.
No. Don't believe everything you think. Don't be channeled by what comes into your mind or what you see or what somebody tells you. You be in control. You train. You manage. And you be very clear that there's a lot of things that are obfuscation related that come into your mind. So find a way to deal with the smokes and mirrors and be at peace. Once you're at peace, happiness comes. Because I always say to my kids and my friends, they say, no, we're looking for happiness. I said, oh, I don't know. Peace comes before happiness.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, what did I say? I said, there's a part of my life you started me. I started with you, and I've done this now for a while, and you haven't been part of it. And I feel like this conversation is going to bring a particular chapter into my life. And thank you for making the time and for being in the country to do it.
And I appreciate you for thinking of me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you are, folks, another wise African. Until the next wise conversation, wishing you a love-filled, compassionate, and productive life. Thank you for making time for this episode of Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell notification to be informed when our next episode is available. Wisdom Personified Conversations with Dudu Msomi is also now available on Facebook Watch, Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. Enjoy the wisdom journey.